Yeast breads can be complex and time-consuming. Not this one. Try this focaccia bread method and amaze your family and friends. This is number 2 in a series on full-time breads or yeast breads. Today I'll be making what's known as a dry mix method. The dry mix method is where we add the yeast to the flour dry, obviously, and mix that and then add the hot water to buffer the temperature of the water. Now this method is used primarily in bread machines. The dry mix method is good for those who have a hard time getting their water too hot. As we know, killing the yeast with temperatures of water over 115 degrees will slow the growth of the culture and also can kill the yeast and make the bread taste yeasty. A good example here today that I'm using is focaccia bread. It's a relatively simple bread to make. It does take some time because it's a refrigerator dough if we want it to be the best flavor we can. But it doesn't require any kneading, just stir together and let it proof up overnight in the refrigerator a little bit and then to warm the next day. So I'm going to go ahead and mix 2 teaspoons of yeast and 2 teaspoons of salt. They have kosher salt, so that measures differently than table salt. And I'm going to mix this well together. Now, it doesn't have to be completely done, but what we do want to do is separate and make sure that that yeast is stirred in well, so that when we put the water in, it doesn't have too many individual pockets of the yeast. We want to make sure it's stirred well together, but it's not that critical. We'll be stirring it some more. And now I'm adding lukewarm water. Now, something that's funny about the term lukewarm is if you go to the internet, it'll say somewhere between room temperature and 105 degrees. My thinking 105 is a little bit too hot, especially for focaccia, because we're putting it in the refrigerator anyway to sit. My temperature water here is at 90 degrees, which I calculate at room temperature plus 15. So 90 degrees, 95 would be fine. Too much lower than 80 degrees is going to slow it down, but it doesn't matter because we know as the yeast actually grows that one of the byproducts is carbon dioxide and heat. And so it will warm itself up. It'll just take a little bit longer. Now, like I said, focaccia is not needed, but it does need to be stirred well to make it into a nice sticky dough ball. And focaccia bread is a sticky dough, which is nice because we don't want to knead it. See, that's sticky together. A little bit more stirring to bring it all together in one good dough ball. We want to make sure that this is covered well with olive oil. Any method works just fine, but we want to keep the air off of it as much as we can so it doesn't develop a skin and retard the growth and make dry pockets in our final product. And now I'll put this in the refrigerator and let it sit overnight. Now that this is set overnight, what we're going to do is deflate it, not necessarily knead it, just deflate it. And to do that, I'm going to well oil my hands and pull into the sides gently, turning the bowl. And I'm going to be using a 9x13 pan. You can use a large sheet pan if you want for a thinner bread. I like it a little thicker because I'm going to be eating it just with the meal, tearing it apart and eating it with the meal. So now I'm going to take this 9x13 pan and I'm going to roll this right into the pan. And now this pan is well greased. In fact, I think I want to put a little bit more in there. This is, without being classified as a fried bread, is a fried bread because of all of the oil. And the oil gives it a wonderful taste as well because it is olive oil. Okay, now I'm going to spread this out and make the characteristic dimples while spreading it into the pan. Now, Recipes from all over the world and on the internet you'll find has different grandma's recipes and combinations of herbs and seasonings on the bread. Some have as little as rosemary only. Others have sage. Others have oregano. What I'm going to be using is the Spice Road Focaccia Italiano blend. It has 3 herbs, but it also has garlic and salt. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful mix to use without having to worry about mixing. It has garlic as well. I think I might have said that. And there's a lot of grandmas that put garlic on their bread. No surprise there, garlic on bread in Italy. Focaccia Italiano is actually a blend from northern Italy. It has fewer ingredients, but very robust still, and herbal and aromatic. Okay, we're going to let this sit for about an hour to proof, and then we'll bake it at 425. The timer has just gone off. Let's see what happens to our bread. Oh my, how beautiful. Full, toasted brown. Let's see what the bottom looks like. Oh my, crusty brown, that characteristic fried look. I think this is a winner. Let's see what it looks like cut. Focaccia.